Alright, welcome back to the channel, and I am very excited, as you can tell, to do another Malazan video. It'll of course be a tier list video. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the Malazan content, and like I said, I do want to reiterate, the channel is definitely not gonna evolve into like a full Malazan channel, but I do want to kind of make that a staple. If I can try and do one of my 2 or 3 videos a week as Malazan, I'd feel like that'd be a nice balance, because as I mentioned in my series review, my non-spoiler series review, it has been a big part of my life for the better part of a year, and it absolutely blew me out of the water as far as my expectations were and anything I had ever read before. So, but I won't rehash what was said in that video. If you haven't checked it out, I would recommend it. I do want to thank you guys, all the new subscribers and the support. That video really blew up, especially as far as my standards. So I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot. Malazan being my favorite series and something I've been wanting to talk about for so long, and I've kind of been waiting to finish the series as a whole. It did really mean a lot that first video did so well and got so much interaction. So I absolutely loved it. I know tier lists are kind of been there, done that as far as BookTube goes for now, but I could not resist the opportunity. And I think why they're so popular is, at the end of the day, sure, it's not the most original or creative content, but at the end of the day, I think everyone appreciates, the idea of kind of ranking your favorite books in order. It's just fun, so. And then I will also say, so this tier list is the same that Andy Smith created and used in his tier list video. So I will link that down below. I'd never done a tier list before, so I was just kind of, and I had watched his video as well. He's someone I take a lot of inspiration from. So please check out his video and kind of see how our thoughts maybe compare or contrast. And definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. He has such an amazing Malazan channel and BookTube channel in general. So without any further ado, oh, and I also will say this, this will be non-spoiler. It's tier list videos are fun, and I know when I was still reading through the series, it's just fun to see, how other people who have finished the series kind of think of all the books in order. So I will keep this non-spoiler, and then without rambling too much, I know that's hard for me to control. I'm a rambler, and especially when I'm talking about Malazan, it's very easy to go on, 11 different tangents because there's so much to talk about. But I did want to take this opportunity to kind of talk about the direction I'm kind of formulating in my mind as far as Malazan content goes. As you guys know, if you watch my other video, I am going to be starting a reread relatively soon of the whole series. Obviously, I'll be starting with Gardens of the Moon. That I hope to have at least started in the next week or two. And then I also really want to dive into Esselmont's Malazan novels, starting with The Knight of Knives. So I'll kind of read those in tandem is my plan. As I reread, I kind of pick up Esselmont novels as they kind of fall in where they make sense or where they may not. I might just kind of, if I really get on a roll with Esselmont, I might just knock out, a few of his novels in a row. But I did pick up Knight of Knives finally. I couldn't find it anywhere in bookstores, so I did have to order it on Amazon. So I've got my copy of that. I am excited to kind of read Esselmont and really see how he compares to Erikson. Erikson I hold in such high esteem. I'm trying not to make too many direct pros and cons or whatever, or who I like more. Just kind of enjoy Esselmont's writing and stories for the sake of what he created, without constantly holding it up to Book of the Fallen. And I know that'll be hard to do, but I'm gonna try and take that lens. So my plan anyways for now, as far as Malazan goes, is I know Knight of Knives is kind of branches off or digs deeper, and I don't know much about Esselmont's novels at all, so correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, from the little bit that I do, I think it picks up and goes from the prologue in Gardens of the Moon, which is obviously set years prior to the main storyline in the full Malazan Book of the Fallen. So I think what I'll do is I'll do Gardens of the Moon, read the prologue, maybe the first chapter or two, depending on how how much I want to sink my teeth in, and then try and, you know, knock out all of Knight of Knives and see really, you know, how those two compare and where Esselmont takes it. I'm really excited to learn more and more about just the world in general, and I know it has so much more to offer than just the Book of the Fallen. So, and then last thing I just want to touch before we get into the actual reason you're here, which is the tier list. I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, I know where I was going. So for videos for Malazan, the reread anyways, I do want to go more in depth for my own sake and really explore more chapter by chapter. And I don't know if I'm going to do, I probably won't do a video for each chapter. I think that'd get a little tedious, but just kind of where I feel are natural breaks, or maybe the different parts. I think Gardens of the Moon might have 6 parts, so I might do a video for each part. I might just do a video for the prologue as it weaves really nicely in with Knight of Knives, or I expect it will. So anyways, that's kind of my rant, my tangent for the video. I can't promise I won't go on another one. This is Malazan after all. It only feels right to go on a tangent. But without further ado, let's get into the tier list. So Gardens of the Moon, obviously the first installment. Oh, and I should explain the tiers as well. Andy Smith, I like that he did a Malazan theme. So normally this would be S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. But instead we have Elder God, Ascendant, Imperial Mage, High Mage, and Squad Mage. But they correlate directly with the S through D, if you will. So Gardens of the Moon, I think on a reread, I probably will do another tier list after I finish my reread, which may be a year and a half from now. But I'm really curious to see on a reread if Gardens of the Moon jumps up my list. Just, you know, I think it suffers from the fact that you're not, this is your first, more than likely your first exposure to Erikson's writing. And it is jarring, just because he writes, you know, he writes in a postmodern way, so he's not holding your hand. He's just throwing you into the heads of, you know, this full cast of characters, and he's not going to come out and tell you much of anything. He's going to let you figure it out, and it's one of the things I really grew to appreciate and truly love in the series. But the first one, it definitely is something to get used to. So I'm really interested to see how it, you know, how it reads on a reread, if you will. But I will say, it is probably the weakest one in the series. Like I said, that I'm very interested to see if that'll change on a reread, but I'm going to put it in Squad Mage. And I'm going to try and not, I don't know if I'll do, you know, just one in Elder God or just one in Squad Mage, but I will try and balance it out and keep with the, you know, keep in mind that Gardens of the Moon is not a D tier book for me. I loved it. I really liked it, but it is kind of on the, it's being compared to the rest of the books. So I don't hate Gardens of the Moon by any means. I really liked it. But anyways, yeah, that probably the weakest entry for me. So I'll stick that in Squad Mage. Deadhouse Gates was very jarring, just because once again I wasn't familiar, similar to Gardens of the Moon. So I'm like, by the end of Gardens of the Moon, I'm like, oh great, I think I've got this all figured out. I'm finally getting to understand and really grow to appreciate what Erikson is building here. And then I can't believe he had, you know, he was brave enough, if you will, to do this. But he pretty much says, okay, everything you've learned about the first one, this cast of characters you're finally starting to connect to, pretty much throw 90% of that in the trash, and we're just gonna hop to a different continent, and you know, here's a whole new cast of characters for you to you know, learn to know, come to know and appreciate. So it was very brave, but very jarring. It's kind of exhausting. You just finished this 600-page book, and you're like, oh, I'm just starting over, it appears. But I did absolutely love the ending of this. Very heart-wrenching ending, without getting into spoilers. And for that, and if you can't tell, I'm ranking these as I go along. I don't have a list in front of me, so it may be, I may change these once I get further into it. But I'm going to put Deadhouse Gates in Imperial Mage. It wasn't by any means one of the best, but it really started to kind of hit home. That ending was like, oh yeah, was a really, really strong ending. And once again, you're just getting more and more accustomed to his writing style, and at this point you're kind of figuring out, it's like, okay, I'm just really along for the ride. I'm definitely not getting my hand held at all with any of this. So you're at least for me, I was like, okay, I think I've got a grip on far as like, I'm not really expecting anything at this point. But thankfully with Memories of Ice, you kind of return to the main cast of characters you meet in Gardens of the Moon. And this book is as near perfection as I've ever read. It's my favorite book of all time. And, you know, kind of spoiling the rest of the video, but Memories of Ice is my favorite book in the whole Book of the Fallen. It's incredible. This was the first book where I didn't like shed one tear. I was like, I remember distinctly, even to this day, even though it was a year ago, sitting on my couch, staying up late. It was like a work night, and I stayed up late till like 1 o'clock finishing it because I literally couldn't put it down, and I was weeping finishing this book. Just such an amazing book. So highly recommend. And once again, if you haven't read Malazan Book of the Fallen, I didn't mention this in my other video, but if you can get through these 3 books, I think you'll be hooked. But if you get through the first 3, and I know that's asking a lot, and it's still not for you, I'd probably say it's safe to say that the whole series won't be for you, because Memories of Ice really puts on display the heights that this series can reach and what it can do. It's incredible. All right, House of Chains. We do meet one of my favorite characters, and I think a fan favorite for the series, Karsa Orlong. Erickson he gives you a reprieve from like jumping in the heads of 100 different characters. And I think the first, if I'm remembering this right, and forgive me if I'm not, because it's been a long time since I've read it, but for like the first 120 pages, is just from the perspective of Karsa Orlong, who he's a fan favorite, and I love him as a character, but the book as a whole wasn't amazing for me. So for that, I'll put it in high mage, but just know you do get to meet one of my favorite characters in this book, so nothing against it. Still very, very good. All right, next up we have Midnight Tides, kind of really setting up the storyline for Reaper's Gale. And where do I want to put this? I think I'll put it just above. No, I'm just going to put it just below House of Chains in high mage is what I'll land on that. Okay, and then next up we have Bone Hunters. And if you guys aren't aware of this, or if you haven't read it, you might have already heard, but the Siege of Egoten is one of the best chapters. It's like 150 pages long, just that chapter alone, and it is just so amazing. Without getting into spoilers, if you like, action or what war and good writing looks like, it's amazing. And that was just, I love the conclusion to this book. The question is, do I want to put it in Elder God just below Memories of Ice, or do I want to keep Elder God kind of more selective, if you will? I think I'll put it at the top of Ascendant for now, in A tier. But just another amazing book. And this is really when I took a couple-month break. I wasn't reading much at all between Midnight Tides and Bone Hunters, and so I picked back up Bone Hunters when I started to read again, and then from there on out, I was, pedal to the metal, all systems go, couldn't drop the series. So I loved Bone Hunters, absolutely loved it. Reaper's Gale. Actually, this kind of builds off of Midnight Tides. I actually really loved the themes and some of the philosophy in this book. This is where I was developing. I think the series made me develop as a reader in a whole, and I'm not trying to sound like pretentious or anything, but this is really where I started to pay attention to, like, oh, there's more than just, this great story. There are some great themes and philosophy in these books. And Reaper's Gale, I'm almost nostalgic already for that reason, because now it's kind of trained my eye to look for that in whatever I read. So for that, I greatly appreciate it, and I might hold it in higher esteem because of that than most other people. So I'm actually going to put it in Ascendant, just below Bone Hunters. And like I said, do take in mind where, like, Bone Hunters was really the pivoting point where, yes, Memories of Ice, I call it an early gem early on in the series, but Bone Hunters is really when I started to think, okay, this might be the best series I've ever read. And by the end of it, as you guys know, if you saw that other video, it is the best series I've ever read, in my opinion anyway. So Reaper's Gale, I do hold in especially high esteem. I don't know if everyone would put it up there. So, all right, next we have Toll of Hounds. Oh, it's getting hard. These books are all so good at the end. And the ending of this book, once again, so Erikson, and he said this in interviews, when he knows, you know, it's a lot to ask a reader to commit to a 900, 1,000, 11, 1,200 page book. So he does make every story, you know, you definitely get a significant degree of closure and a great climax to all these books, and I appreciate that. He's not trying to leave you with like grand, you know, cliffhangers for the sake of getting you to keep reading. The strength of the story and the conclusions make you want to see how it's going to progress. And Toll of Hounds has such an excellent conclusion. Some of the best scenes and action sequences in the whole series. Oh, but where Ascendant's getting heavy, it's definitely better than Reaper's Gale. Just the conclusion alone, it does drag. I do find, most of the series for me anyways, and I might be, you know, alone in this opinion, but I never find that Malazan really drags at all. But in Toll of Hounds near the beginning and some of the storylines in the middle did drag just a little bit, but then it's more than made up for by the last 300 pages of this book is breakneck pace, and so many things are happening. So do I want to hold the beginning and middle? Do I want to hold it down because of that? I don't think so. I think I'm going to put it above Reaper's Gale. No, I'm not. Oh, this is getting hard. I think I'm going to put it at the top of Imperial Mage, and that pains me to do that, because if it was just the last 300 pages of this book, it might be an Elder God, but I do have to take into the whole, you know, the first 700-800 pages into consideration. But just know that the last 300 pages of this book are, if it was that alone, that's some of the best, you know, pages you'll read in the whole series. So, all right, Dust of Dreams. Just we're clearly building up to you know what is going to be the most grandest and epicest of conclusions. Erikson, you know, is the master of epic, is what I'd say, and you definitely get that in Dust of Dreams. I keep saying it, but he's so good with these conclusions. But this was just another one where, you know, the conclusion of this was something hard to wrap my mind around. I think I finished this book and I stood in front of my bookshelf for like 30 minutes just talking to myself. I think my wife thought I was going crazy. Was it better than Reaper's Gale? I think it was. Like I said, Reaper's Gale I think is an outlier for me just because of, you know, I have so much appreciation for what this kind of taught me as a reader. And I'm not trying to make that sound, you know, like anything profound, but it just really, I noticed, you know, I started noticing things that I didn't before because of Reaper's Gale. So yeah, I think Dust of Dreams goes in Ascendant there. And then the Crippled God, this one's easy for me. I'm going to put it right below Memories of Ice. Definitely an S tier book. I have no qualms with putting two books in Elder God because just wow. The conclusion was everything I hoped for. It more than solidified it as the best series I ever read. And it just didn't, and there were definitely some heart-wrenching, scenes at the end, but just an amazing, amazing conclusion. Memories of Ice just definitely edges it out just for what Memories of Ice did and is, But Crippled God is definitely up there, and for that, it's my second entry in Elder God. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the tier list. Please do like and subscribe if you are liking the Malazan content. And like I said, I'm not planning to make this channel solely Malazan, but if I do, I try and shoot for like 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday sort of thing. So if I do, and I know I don't always do that, if I do 3 videos a week, I think the plan will be to try and do 1 Malazan video in there as I read, the Esselmont novels and reread the Book of the Fallen, and then also I'm sure I will dip into the Carcanis trilogy at some point. He's coming out with, what's the name of it? Something Witness, but Erickson later this year is coming out with the first installment of what I think is a trilogy, and it might just be called the Witness trilogy or something, but it follows Karsa Orlong. I'm very, very excited to read that. I can tell you now that as soon as that comes out, I'm gonna have it on release day, and probably read it nonstop in a few days and go from there. So that is my plan for the channel for now. Things may change, but anyways, I hope you liked the tier list. Please do like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts if you agree, disagree. And like I said, thank you, Andy Smith, for making this tier list, and I will definitely link his video below because he's got a great channel. So I will catch you guys in the next one.